Hello everyone, Jim here with Sunrise Farms. Welcome back to our brand new farming experience. Like I said in previous videos, this is the first time in my life I've ever grown a garden. We moved to the country about 2 years ago and had plans to get into homesteading and gardening, and then along the way we're going to incorporate some animals as well. But since our last video, I thought I'd give you some updates on where we are and what I'm currently doing. Started out making several mistakes and made quite a mess. And everybody I know has their own plot size, their own land, their own budget. All these variables will come into play, and I get that because we're trying to do this on a budget as well, as I've mentioned before. But one thing I did do, and it just was driving me nuts, trying to overhead water it with basically just a rotary sprinkler system. And I couldn't control the grass and weeds. I was fighting everything in the world because the ground wasn't cultivated properly. So in my last video, or one of my last videos, I made the steps to back up because I'd already killed a couple of crops because I couldn't keep up with it right. And so I made some steps to back up. I rented a tiller. It was a hydraulic tiller that cost me $100 or $108 with tax for a day. While that was a ton of work because it took me, I did it over a 2-day, well, I rented it in the middle of the day, so I did it half a day and then half a day in the morning. I only had it for the 24 hours. But so I did it a total of 8 hours to till this whole thing up. I still got some grass problems in a little bit of it, but we'll take care of that. It's kind of manageable now. At any rate, I wanted to give you an update on where we were. You can see here, this is a trellis system. And on this particular row, we're doing butternut squash. I'll give you, in another video, I'll give you some updates on how we're setting up our rows now. But the key thing I wanted to share with you in today's video is about drip tape irrigation. I've done so much research, probably like yourself, looked at many YouTube things, did a lot of Google searches, investigated this company, and just did so many things trying to figure out what I could do. Now granted, you may not have the budget for this, or perhaps your plot even isn't big enough for such a thing, but for those that are getting into homesteading life, trying to feed your family, maybe trying to feed your extended family. I have a daughter and 2 granddaughters and 2 sons. And then, you know, I have a bunch of, my wife's family's all around, so we have a bunch of cousins and sister-in-laws. And so I wanted to be able to provide for my family. And more than that, we're going to basically do what's called a farm market. You know, we live in the country a little bit, like I said, and we have, we're a long way off the road, and we have the ability to put, at least this is our current thinking, and you'll get some updates on that throughout the year. But our current thinking is we'll put up a vegetable stand at the head of our driveway and do a little bit of a farm market. So there's that aspect too. So this plot, I've said it in previous videos, but this entire plot, which you can't see in this particular shot, but I'll show you, is 40 feet this way. So in my case, we're going to call it front to back. So 40 feet this way by 120 feet this way. Big plot. And if this goes well, I actually am going to put the exact same size plot going forward in my property. I have a whole nother place I can put it. And plus we're going to do some raised beds for some other stuff that are more like root vegetables. Anyway, what I wanted to say was we ended up discussing our budget numbers and what was happening with the watering system and wasting water and watering grass and weeds and not getting water where we needed it most, and trying to figure out how to maximize our effort and space. So we backed up, we've reset our rows, and I've gone to getting the drip tape, as I said. So I have a main line right here of drip irrigation that covers my entire garden down, and then I'm putting in these rows with drip tape, and that's what I wanted to share with you today mostly. And so I'll give you a close-up shot later in the video, but I don't have a way of holding the drip tape by myself. So I have some ladders and I had some steel pipe, And it just so happens that on the particular drip tape that we use, and I'll give you the exact name in the video, I think it's Rivalus. I might be pronouncing that wrong. At any rate, it turns out that the spool is perfect for a 3/4 inch piece of steel pipe. So either a 3/4 inch piece of galvanized or black iron pipe is perfect. And that basically just made myself a holder, and it rolls in my ladder so that I can just roll it out by hand, and I'll show you that on this row when I do it. And all I did to hold this down, because if you don't hold it down, because you want to draw it tight as you do it, if you don't do that, it's just going to drive you nuts. So I'm just using landscape staple to hold it down. That's all I did here. Just a landscape staple to hold it in place at the head of my row, because you're going to snip that off anyway when you go to put your actual fitting on where you want to tie it to. And then I can draw this line tight. Now I'm going to do this by hand where I can hold it tight, cover it every so much, and then I'll do the rest with the yard rake, steel rake. And so I just wanted to talk about that, but let's discuss, you know, I'll kind of stop talking and just go to work, and well, I'll speed the video through to work, but I wanted to talk just a minute about the budget of it. Like I said, I've told you how big my plot is, so obviously this whole scenario will vary based on your needs and if you're even able to do it. But I will tell you that so far I have put in about 12 rows, and I am absolutely thrilled with the way that this is working so far, because I've put in valves on my rows. I can control what row gets what amount of water for how long. I have a timer on my hose bib, and I'm able to control the water exactly where I need it at the plant's roots. And because you're using drip tape, there's certain crops like bush beans that I've got a double row. So instead of being right on top of the drip tape, I'm 6 inches either side, so I'm making 2 rows. I've got bush beans that way. I'm going to do okra that way, lettuce that way. You can do potatoes and onions that way. There's just so much you can do that way that don't require, you can actually tighten up on your space. But going back to the budget. So for everything, the drip tape comes on a 1,500 foot roll. I bought a kit, and I bought it from HaasTools.com, and I'll put that name in the description. They don't know me and I don't know them, so it's not a sponsored video by any stretch of the imagination. I just happened to see a lot of their videos on YouTube, then I checked out their website. I checked their prices against a lot of other sources. Most of their prices were very reasonable, and when you buy this much stuff, they give you free shipping. They're an American company in Georgia, which I love. Whenever I can, I try to buy from American companies, small family companies as well. Try to support the local economies and families of places when I can. And so anyway, I got all of this from Haas Tools. I ended up having to get 2 orders because I didn't calculate enough material the first order. Go figure, right? But the 2 orders combined for my entire layout that I'm going to do is $350. Now, that can be a lot of money, and I understand if you just went, oh man, that's too much money. I get it. Again, I had to do it according to my size. It wasn't in my initial budget, but I realized that if I factored in that versus a lot of other things that I wasn't going to have to waste time on with watering, dragging a hose around to water, watering the grass and weeds, which is going to cause me extra work because I'm watering stuff that I got to take up anyway, and a few other things, the fact that I can tighten up on my crops and actually produce more long term, all of that just made more sense, and we kind of set that money aside in the budget, and we've done this and we're backing up. Now, all of that being said, this is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world to do by yourself. Haas Tools actually has a wheel hoe or a double wheel hoe, and you can actually get an attachment that makes all of this very simple. But that whole system cost about $500 more, and that's not in the budget. So what do I have? I have my what is commonly called as a sharpshooter shovel, and so I string line just like I've done here. I string line my row, and in this case, some of my rows are 3 feet apart, some of them are 4 feet apart. Mainly the ones that are 4 feet apart is I wanted room for my trellises, and I also wanted, when I'm doing a double row of something, I want a little extra space. So if it's going to be next to a trellis or next to a double row, I give myself 4 feet. I obviously have the room to do so, but I'm also maximizing the space with a double row, like I said in the first place, because of the drip tape. And so let's just carry on. What you don't want to do, and that's why I'm doing this, just packing in by hand and in various places before I do the rake. Now you can do the rake just from the get-go if you want to, but I have found that when I do it with a rake, it wants to push it in and twist it. And you don't really want this stuff to get twisted or bunched up. You just want it to lay flat. And there's a right way and a wrong way to put this stuff in when it comes to upside down or right side up. There are emitters, little pinholes for the water system. There are emitters along the way. In this particular case, this roll is every 12 inches. And so the emitters must go up. So that's relatively simple. The other side is flat, there's nothing there. So the emitters must go up. And all I'm doing is pulling it a little taut and then just covering it up so it holds in place when I get to the rake part. And normally, this drip tape, if you don't have tension on it, it will unspool on you. I will have to say, while I love the fact that it has a hole for a 3/4 piece of steel pipe, the exterior that holds this roll on, this stuff right here, is nothing but cardboard, and it doesn't take nothing for it to get moisture damaged. But this whole spool will unroll if you don't keep pressure on it. So when you start to run the line down your ditch, just go and don't stop. And then it becomes pretty much that simple. Now I'll just take the same pin I had and pin this one in. And you can see right there how it will just kind of bunch up because there's no pressure on it. If I were to actually have this thing hooked up and put water pressure on it, it would just open up and straighten itself out. But I don't want to do that because I really don't want a muddy mess at the moment. So you need to just pull it taut a little bit as you go. Right there, see how it wants to twist? That's why I do it this way, so I know I get a good cover and I get it to cover straight before I go to raking all of it in. Again, if you had the Haas attachment that went to a double wheel hoe to take care of it, you could do all this in one motion. It would actually dig it, roll it out, and bury it all for you. And you wouldn't even have to have this kind of hassle. But that simply, like I said, wasn't in the budget. I also want to give a big shout out to Haas Tools. Like I said before, they don't know me and I don't know them. They've been around for quite a while. It's a family-run farm. Like I said, their prices are reasonable. They offer free shipping, I think over $99. But, and yes, it probably has something to do that I'm only one state away and probably not very far at that. But I will say they are Johnny on the spot at filling their orders, letting you know they've been processed and filled very quickly within generally the same day, but at least 24 hours. And my stuff always arrives in just a few days. And I have been more than happy and satisfied with their customer service and their response time to getting orders filled and getting products to you, which is huge in anything, obviously, but it's very huge when you're in farming and you're trying to do things based on the time of year and the days of the month, and obviously in between whatever your weather forecast is of rain and these kind of things. So thank you, Haas Tools, for being so responsible and responsive to getting the stuff to me. Big thumbs up. And just for sake of this video, so you know the time of year and that I'm actually, because I already made so many mistakes, I blew the whole first crop of corn. I killed it. I've killed a few crops actually. I killed two zucchini, or a zucchini and squash crop, unfortunately. But, so today is May 20th, 2023. And so my growing season actually started, quite frankly, in March for certain things to get them even seed started. I could have done it in probably January or February. So I am, unfortunately, I'm pretty far behind, but being a newbie to this and making mistakes, well, it just is what it is, and I'm learning. There is a great feeling though in working the dirt and cultivating the soil and seeing how the Lord works through His design for food and how certain plants grow, and it's therapeutic. Well, thank you so much. I hope that was helpful. And a couple of videos coming out real soon. We'll just show you what it's like when we start to transplant and put seed into it either way. So I hope some of this helps. I'd be interested to hear your comments. So I just thank you so much for watching this video. Take care, and God bless you all. Happy farming.